The first topic I'm going to talk about is that the first official Avengers teaser trailer has been released. I'm not going to talk about the second teaser because it's only been leaked online. It hasn't been officially released. And I know there's rumors going around about what the third teaser is going to be, what the fourth one's going to be, and it's all going to lead to a full trailer. Whether that's true or not, we'll see. I know the I know it has been confirmed that there's going to be a third and fourth teaser. The full trailer is the one that is just being rumored right now. When it comes to the first official release teaser, and let me say this is a teaser. The teaser is only over 1 minute, slightly over 1 minute, so this isn't a long teaser, and it feels more like a scene to me. I was underwhelmed by this. Now let me say this: I didn't hate this teaser though. I have my concerns about the idea of bringing back Chris Evans as Steve Scott because he had a great ending in that game when it comes to the ending of his story. At the same time, though, I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to see him back. I loved him as Captain America. He was, to my opinion, him and Robert Jr. and Chris Hemsworth are the Trinity, like the big three of the MCU. And him and Robert Downey Jr. and I would say even Chris Hemsworth are the heart of the MCU. So, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to see him back, and it does say Steve Rogers will return. So I'm curious about if he's gonna take up the Nomad identity in the comics. I'm not too familiar with that history of the character. And seeing him with a kid, that was a sweet moment in the teaser there. So, and I think there is some exciting, interesting story possibilities you could do. If they execute it well, like the idea of him paying for going through those different time periods, returning on those stones and Thor's hammer. Like I do think there's some interesting story possibilities there of the consequences. I think there's some interesting story possibilities of him having a kid there. Like, am I a little worried it could undermine his ending in the game? Yeah, I have my concerns about that. I also have the other side of my brain as a fan that I'm excited to see him back. And I know some people are like, oh, it's not a lot using not a lot bait using like bringing old characters back to get people excited for MCU again. Yeah, you could say that. Like I said, at the same time though, I'm excited to see him back. Like I've said multiple times, is I loved him as that character, and I have my concerns. I'm also in a mindset that if you do it well, it's like anything with a concept for a movie. I'm one of those people that's always open minded to this stuff as a fan, where it's like all I care about is if you make a good to great movie. If you do it in a way where it's compelling, you give me a compelling reason why he's back as Steve Rogers, and it doesn't undermine his end game, and you execute it well, and the movie ends up being a really good to great movie, then it won't bother me. And that's all I ask for at the end of the day is just give me a really good to great, give me an entertaining to great movie. If you do it in a way where I go watch the movie and it makes sense and it's compelling and it's an interesting story you have there to bring him back, that's all I care about. So, and this to me is a 1 minute teaser. It doesn't show a whole lot. It basically feels more like a scene. So I can't really. It doesn't give you too much to say it's a whether it's like what role he's going to play Steve Rogers, how his story's going to play in Avengers Doomsday. So, like, to me, it's not enough to go on right now to be like, well, this is a bad idea or a good idea. I need to see a full trailer to see what they're going for story wise. Since there hasn't been really a build up to this movie like there was in the Infinity Saga, I need to see a full trailer to get a better idea of where they're going to go as character. And even by then, I gotta wait till I see the movie how it's handled. So like I said, I have two sides of this. I was underwhelmed by this teaser. It's not a bad teaser. I thought I was just underwhelmed. At the same time, as a fan, I'm excited to see him back because I loved him as Captain America. I also want to talk about this side of it. I know I've seen fans concerned that he's gonna become like Captain America again and then take away the spotlight from Anthony Mackie, who's been a current Captain America, the new Falcon. I don't think that's gonna happen. It says specifically Steve Rogers will return, which gives me the idea that he's not going to become Captain America again. If anything, I think he'll take up that nomad identity he has in the comics. Will just be Steve Rogers. And I think you can perfectly. I think you can have two Captain Americas in the same movie and not have it be a problem. I don't think that takes away from Anthony Mackie's new Captain America. I think in the comics there's been like there was a time in the comics where Steve and Falcon were both Captain America at the same time. So to me, it doesn't. I don't think that takes away from Anthony Mackie or making it feel like he could like Steve Oz is coming the character to take the spotlight from Anthony Mackie. Like they confirmed the teams of the in this movie with some piss I'm about to commence in, and you saw Anthony Mackie on his team. He's Captain America, so I don't like I said I don't think Steve Oz is going to take up that identity of Captain America again. I think he's either going to be Nomad or he's just going to be Steve Oz, and I think you can have both of them in MCU at the same time and still give Anthony McAvoy his spotlight as a new Captain America also. Like I understand that concern. I'm not really concerned as much about that as everybody else is. And I also want to say this. I really actually like the way they're marketing this movie. At least it's the first time I've seen a studio do this where they're putting out short like teaser trailers that will lead to a full trailer. You know, whether it leads to a full trailer, I'm not sure about that part of it. The idea though of just releasing like short teasers for the first 4 weeks of Avatar, I think it's really interesting because it kind of reminds me of a TV show where you have a TV show, you put out an episode each week, and it keeps people talking about the show. I feel like this is a good way to keep people talking about the Avengers Doomsday movie. Like, what are you unwhelmed by that teaser? You also have people who are hyped up after seeing that teaser of Chris Evans back as Captain America. Excuse me, Chris Evans back as Steve Rogers. So I think this is a good way to keep people talking, honestly. And I think I think it'd be cool if more studios did something like this, where you did a thing where you release kind of maybe like character teasers, these short little teasers to build up more hype for the movie. I think that's a interesting, unique way you could market a movie. And I think to me, I actually like the way they're doing this. It sucks that they're getting leaked online. I hate that. And it sucks that they've that Marvel's had bad luck with these teasers so far. Like I think teaser 3 and 4 are probably gonna get leaked online since the first two did. I do think they're all gonna get a official release like the first one did. Like I feel like the second teaser is gonna get a official release. I think teaser 3 and 4 are gonna get official release probably. But it sucks that they've gotten leaked online so far. Like I said though, I do really like the way they're marketing this movie. I think to me it keeps people talking about Avengers Doomsday. And I think it's always good when I see a studio kind of doing something different to market a movie in a way that we haven't seen movies market before. So overall, my thoughts on the teaser for Avengers Doomsday, the first official teaser, which is more like a scene, is that I was underwhelmed. Same time, I'm excited to see him back. I need to see more. Like I need to see a full trailer to get an idea of where they're going with this movie, what the story is, how is Doom going to be. To me, it's just basically a scene. So I don't have a lot to go on with this teaser to to be like really excited or not because it just wasn't enough here. I can definitely understand why people like me, why fans, and I agree with fans that would be underwhelming because it is the first official footage we're seeing from this movie. So right now I gotta see more. I gotta see a full trailer to get an idea where my excitement is for Avengers Doomsday. Like I'm excited either way because it's an Avengers movie. They're to me like event movies. It like with theaters now, it's like you have to have your movie be event movies. I feel like lately for us for to get more people to go see theaters and Avengers movies. I think Avengers seems like it's going to make $1 billion. Will it make $2 billion? I don't know. We'll see with that. But I'm excited for this movie just because it's an Avengers movie. It's an event movie. And I think out of the MCU franchises, these ones they need to land. They need to get these right, in my opinion. And I trust the Russo brothers with the fact they've directed four Avengers. They directed two Avengers movies, two Captain America movies, and all four of the movies were great. So I trust the directors. I think think MCU's been on a better track record lately. Where I loved Fantastic Four, I loved Thunderbolts. So I feel like after those two movies, and if these can end up being really good to great, I feel like the MCU is going to get back on track. So we'll see. Like I said, teaser wise, I need to see a full trailer right now to have more to like see where my excitement is for Avengers Doomsday. Next topic is Avatar Fire and Ash. So it's tracking to have a 20% drop off, which I believe Avatar Way of Water had a 52% drop off. Now it's tracking to have a Avatar Fire and Ash is tracking to have a 20% drop off over the holiday weekend. And we still have to wait to see the official numbers on Monday to see whether it actually really holds that strong. But it looks like it's tracking to have a strong hold over the holiday weekend, which I'm happy for this movie. I don't love these movies. I think Avatar Fire Ass is a bit like you can check out my review on my channel. It's a very mediocre movie to me personally. So I just so far I can't say I've really been impressed by these movies. These movies have legs out the box office, and also these movies don't tend to open too big. Like this one didn't have a big opening. It opened below Avatar Way of Water. Like the first one I believe opened to 77. Avatar Way of Water opened to 134. I think this one opened like in the like. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was in the 80s. I know it opened like slightly above the first one, but it was below the second one. These movies don't tend to have real big openings, but they have legs at the box office. And I will admit, I'm actually surprised this movie's having a stronger hold in Way of Water because this movie isn't getting as well received from the critics as opposed to Avatar movies. These movies, though, are event movies. These movies are movies you used to see at theaters, and it seems like a lot of people do go back and see these movies multiple times in theaters, which I'm happy for the theaters. So even though I don't love these movies and I haven't been impressed by these movies, like I don't like the first one. I thought this one was mediocre. I enjoyed the second one, but still don't think any of them were great. These movies have their fans. And I'm happy when any movie's doing well in theaters because it means theaters are doing well. And I definitely think this movie's going to make a billion, this Avatar movie. Whether it makes 2 billion, I'm 50-50 on that. We'll see with that because with the word of mouth and the fact this is a long movie, I don't know if it's going to reach 2 billion like the first two. I do think though this movie's going to make a billion, and if it makes a billion, they're going to do Avatar 4. And I know yes, like plans for Avatar 4 and 5, James Cameron. So I think if this movie makes a billion, they're going to do a fourth Avatar movie. I'm happy though for this movie. This movie holds strong. I'm happy for theaters because it gets means people people are going to see movies at the theaters, and I'm happy for any movie that does well in theaters to get more people to see movies. So I mean, this is if this tracks to hold that 20% drop off. I mean, that's an incredible hold in it over holiday weekend for this movie. The next topic I'm going to talk about is so there was an article that put out Avengers Doomsday is going to be the biggest movie of 2026. With I I do think it will be because I said this when I was talking about the Avengers Doomsday first teaser, how that even though there's been no build up for this movie, it's an Avengers movie, and I think people, even if there's no build up for these movies, they're like event movies. To me, these are movies you go see at theaters. These are movies that everybody's going to go in droves to see. What if I don't know if it's gonna make 2 billion though? That's the only thing I'm 50-50 on. Where I do think this movie's gonna make a billion. I do think it'll be the biggest movie of the year. I don't know if it's gonna be that 2 billion area like Infinity War Endgame because it hasn't had that build up and the MCU's been inconsistent. So we'll see about that. But I definitely think it'll be the biggest movie to make a billion. But the reason I wanted to talk about this also is because they gave I think a list of movies for 2026, and you had Avengers Doomsday as number one when it comes to what would be the highest grossing movie of the year, which I agree with that. You have Super Mario Galaxy movie number two, which I do think that movie's gonna make a lot of money. It's an animated movie. I think you're gonna get a lot of kids to go see it, and the first one made a bill. So I do think that movie's gonna make a lot of money. I'm not really real excited for that movie. Like I enjoyed the first one, but I didn't love it or anything like that. So it's not one of those movies I'm really excited for. Toy Story 5. Number three was makes sense because Toy Story movies are popular. They make a lot of money as Toy Story movies. Toy Story 4 made $1 billion, I remember. So, and I love all the Toy Story movies, so I'm definitely excited for that one. The Odyssey as number four was I agree with that being on a list. Like when it comes to the order of these, I don't know what the order would be for me personally. I definitely think Avengers Doomsday would be number one, as I do think that's going to be highest grossing movie of the year. Everything after that, I don't know what my order would be when it comes to what I had to like what movie will make like when it comes to highest grossing movies of the year. I think these are all great choices though. Toy Story or Odyssey, I think that has a shot to make a billion. I do. I think if you make a point, we'll come close to it, like in the 900 area, and I can't wait for that movie. It just to me that Christopher Nolan, also with Christopher Nolan, I would say he's the one director, in my opinion, where his movies are like event movies. He just knows how to make those movies, kind of like James Cameron, I would say, where he just makes these movies that people just show up for. And I'm one of those people. Like I love Chris Nolan as a director, and Odyssey. The trailers have looked great for it. I cannot wait for that movie. And I think he's the one director I would say right now where you see Chris Nolan's name in the task. I'm gonna go see it because it's Chris Nolan. Dune Part Three was I would have that on the list too because the second one made I believe in the 700 area, and I think this one does have a shot to make $1 billion. I am curious though because they put out a statement. The studio, who is it? I think it's Warner Brothers that does the Dune movies. Yeah, I think it's Warner Brothers. Where they said they're not going to move Dune Politics. I believe it's opening on the same day of Avengers Doomsday. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I think that's interesting because they're not. I feel like though. I feel like one of them's going to move because I don't know if that's really the best idea to put up Dune Part 3 against Avengers Doomsday. I would move Dune Part 3. We'll see. Maybe it'll become like a Bima Oppenheimer thing where both movies do really well if they stick with their dates, which I hope because I'm excited for both of those. But yeah, Dune Part 3, I'm excited for that. The Mandalorian and Grogu is in sixth place. Which I will put that in the kind of lower like choices of movies, whether that's gonna be like a really high grossing movie because I'm excited for it. At the same time though, I feel like the response to the first show was very lukewarm. And if I gotta be honest, if I didn't see the Mandalorian show, I wouldn't be excited for this because I feel like this trailer, like I'm excited because I love the Mandalorian first two seasons of this show. And that's another thing too. I think this movie's gonna have the problem with is that a lot of people did not like season three. I know I was extremely disappointed in season three. It was to me a mediocre season, and it had some bad episodes there, like the Jack Black one. So I think a lot is coming off of a not great season. So I think if this was coming after season two, I feel like the hype would be more there with the fact that's coming off season three, kind of a season that it wasn't well with that a lot of people were disappointed and didn't like. I feel like that's gonna hurt its box office. I also think the problem with this movie is that when I watch the trailer for this, it basically just feels like an extended episode, and I just don't know. Like the Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie, I'm way more excited for that because it's something new, and if it was made as a movie, this is basically when I watch the trailer for Mandalorian, it just really does feel like an extended TV episode of a TV show, and I just don't think the trailer didn't do anything to convince people, in my opinion, that don't watch the show to get excited for this. So honestly, I think that movie's probably gonna make like, if I had to guess, I think 400 would be the max for that movie, maybe 500, but I don't know. I'm not getting the hype for this movie. I feel like for people who don't watch the show, and I don't think the trailer convinced people who don't watch the show to get excited. And you're coming off of, like I said, a less well received season. Then you have Minions 3 with I'm not surprised by that being on the list. That those movies make a lot of money, the Minion movies. I never really got into this fictional franchise. I've never seen any of them, and I've never seen any of the Minion movies. Those movies do make a lot of money though, and a lot of kids go and see those movies. So I can understand that being on the list. Not a movie that I'm really interested in or excited for at all. And then the last one would be the one live action. So I'm excited for this. Yes, I look Disney remakes. A lot of them lately have either been bad or mediocre. So and then yes, the trail pretty much looks like some one of those shot for shot remakes. At the same time, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I'm not excited for it. Like it is one of my most anticipated movies because of the fact I love the first Ramada movie. The second one was okay. I love that first one though, so I'm excited for it personally, and I do think that it's gonna make a lot of money. I mean, look at Moana 2. Moana 2, I didn't think it was a great movie. I thought it was a step down from the first one. It still made $1 billion, I believe, Moana 2. So I just think the movies are popular, and I do think this movie's gonna make a lot of money. There is one movie I'm surprised that isn't on this list though, and that is Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I would have thought that would have been on the list because with all I feel like that movie a lot of people are excited for. It's the start of a new Spider-Man trilogy with a new director, the guy who did Shang-Chi, and with all the rumored stuff going on, what's going to happen in this movie. I feel like this should be on the list. Like that's the one thing I don't agree with this list is that Spider-Man: Brand New Day. I definitely think should be on the list because based on what I'm seeing around the internet and people, is that this is a movie that a lot of people are hyped for. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to see what the director of Shang-Chi is going to do because I love Shang-Chi, and I'm excited to see where they're going to go with Peter Parker since it'll be this will be him in his like college years where he's not the first shows he was about him in his high school years, and I'm really excited to see where he go with his character and his Kyle's years. And the fact you have Punisher and Hawk, I'm excited to see those two characters back, especially Punisher, because the guy who plays Punisher in the Netflix show and Daredevil, and I know he's getting a special presentation, like a mini movie, which I believe is being released next year. I'm excited to see like Punisher and Spider-Man teaming up, and I'm excited to see the Hawk because I think we're going to get the I think we're going to get the angry Hawk again in this movie. That's what I'm thinking because I would say the one negative of Avengers Endgame is that they didn't nerf the Hawk, and I haven't loved this Professor version of the Hawk. I do think we're going to get back to Angry Hawk in this movie. I feel like something's going to happen, and I would also say this: I feel like even though I didn't love She-Hulk, I do feel like in the beginning of that show when he's like training Jennifer, and I think there was the one scene with Dawn Box, you do see that the Angry Hawk is still in there somewhere. So, and I know in the comics there's been different. The Hawk has gone through different personalities when it comes to like the different versions of Hawk. Like there's a Gray Hawk in the comics. So I do think I do think we're going to get back to Angry Hawk in this movie, and I think that's going to set up because I don't think he's been officially announced to be part of Avengers Doomsday. Doomsday, the character Hawk, Mark Ruffalo's Hawk. I do think though this is going to set up his character to get back to Angry Hawk, where he's gonna lead to one of the two writers' movies or both of them, where you're gonna see like a really strong version of the Hawk. So that's something I'm really excited for the Hawk. I do think we're gonna get back to Angry Hawk in this movie, and like I said, from all the rumored like stuff going on with this movie, it sounds like this could be one. It sounds like this could be a really exciting Spider-Man movie with the idea of it being a street level adventure while at the same time still having multiverse elements. With the fact that it's going to be, I think, released in between the two Avengers movies, I believe. Correct me in the comments on more about that. I think this movie's going to play some type of role in those movies. So I'm surprised that movie is on the list too. Like I definitely think, and also it's coming off of the last two Tom Holland Spider-Man movies made $1 billion at the box office. I mean, the last one, No Way Home, I think made 1.9. It made nearly $2 billion, and Homecoming made in the 800 area. So it's coming off these successful movies. And so that's the one thing I would change about that list is that I think Spider-Man Brand New Day should be on that list personally. Overall, I think those are all movies that are gonna make a good amount or a lot of money at the theaters. So I definitely like agree with the movies that are on that list. And I do think Avengers Doomsday, even though there hasn't been a build up to this and the MCU's been inconsistent, I think these are like the Avatar movies. I think these are event movies. Everybody's gonna want to go and see an Avengers movie at the theaters because these are movies, in my opinion, that's to be seen on the big screen. Whether it makes 2 billion, that's another question. I do think though it will be the highest gross of the year, and it will make a billion, in my opinion. Like the only way I see this movie not making a billion Avengers Doomsday is if the movie turns out to be really bad and it gets really badly received. Which I I can't, I don't feel like it's going to happen because of Russo Brothers' track record with MCU movies. Now they made bad. Now when it comes to outside of the track record with MCU, they made a lot of bad movies. So when it comes to the track record with the MCU, though, they've been 4 for 4 so far for me. So unless the quality for this movie ends up being really bad, I think this movie is going to be the highest grossing and make a billion. Like I said, 2 billion. I don't know if it's going to make 2 billion like Infinity War and Endgame. A billion, no, I think it would definitely be some billion of Avengers Doomsday. The next topic I'm going to talk about is that there's been test screenings for Supergirl. When it comes to test screenings, I always take a grain of salt with these because there's been times where I've heard test screenings for movies were bad, and then the movie doesn't end up being bad. I've also heard test screenings for movies were positive. I've heard I remember test screenings coming out for Superman. It was like you saw test screenings saying it wasn't good. You saw test screenings saying it was really great. I don't take too much in these test screenings because the whole point of a test screen is to see what works, what doesn't, and they still have plenty of time to like fish certain elements of the movie if they're not tested well. So I always say take test screenings with a grain of salt. It's like first reactions for me, where it's like I don't really take the first reactions serious for a movie. It's when you get to the second reactions, and not just the first reactions where it was you know, where it's just like you don't. Where I feel like those will, the first reactions are released for like for a group, for a group like for the critics or something like that, and the second reactions or where the whole world sees a movie. So like with test screenings, it's all about, the test screen when they test screen a movie is to see what works and what doesn't work. So I don't take test screenings too seriously. There's been times where we've had test screenings for movies that sound like going to be bad. I remember one woman having like bad test screenings and making it sound like it was going to be bad, but the first one movie turned out to be great. Now, there's other times where you hear bad test screenings and they turn out to be true. When a movie does end up being bad. And there's been test screens where it's been in the middle. So, but when it comes to the actual test screens, it sounds like the test screens for Supergirl were really good. Like it sounds like most of the test screens are saying this is a really good, solid movie. Not like fantastic, but not bad either. And look, if I can come out of the Supergirl movie going like this was just really good, just a solid movie, then I'll be happy. And like I said, with James Gunn's DC universe so far, I love Superman. I love the Priest of Commandos. I love Peacemaker season 1. I love Peacemaker season 2 up until the finale. So for me, the finale of Peacemaker season 2 is the only time where I felt like that was a mess when it came to the finale of season 2 of Peacemaker. But outside of that, he's been more hit for me personally with James Gunn. And and like I said, the test screenings sound like it's gonna be good. Like the main negatives with the test screenings that I saw was that it sounds like the color palette that it's like kind of like it looks a little too like the color palette looks a little too like bland and a little too bland and like has like it looks like it has like a Guardians of the Galaxy, like a slight Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, but I don't really take that as a negative because to me it's like if it's done well, that's all I care about. And I don't have a problem having a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe because it's a movie that's going to take place in space with the Supergirl movie. So I don't really have a problem if it has like a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. So I don't think you can take that as really a negative or positive. But the main negative is that it's like it doesn't have like the colors don't pop because from what I heard with the comic, which I haven't read the comic, because it's very colorful the comic, and it sounds like this has more of a grim look to it when it comes to the colors in the movie. Which you can kind of see that in the trailer for Supergirl. And then I would say the main negative I saw in the test screen is that they're saying is the villain is underwhelming in the movie. That it's not the villain's not very interesting. Which it when it comes to like when it comes to that in comic movies, there's comic movies I love that have big villains like X-Men: Days of Future Past, Tax, Global Tax. I think even the character, the guy from Game of Thrones who played a villain in that movie. You know, I don't think he was a big gettable villain in that movie. Logan had weak villains, but I still love that movie. So you know, having a weak villain isn't necessarily like a breaking point for me. Like I love the first Wonder Woman movie. That movie had weak villains. Everything else about that movie though was great though, and I still ended up loving and thinking that was a great movie because it did a great job with the story. It got me invested in the Wonder Woman and her characters and her journey. That look, if you get me invested in Supergirl as a character, you just give me a movie where I'm really fully invested in her character, then to me you did your job. Especially for an origin movie, where this is the first Supergirl movie. So the main thing for me is just give me an entertaining, great movie where you get me invested in her character. And the positives, which is the positive that keeps people keep pointing out in the test screenings, is that one is that they're saying it's a solid, good movie. They're not saying it's bad. They're just not saying it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. But they're all saying it's a solid, good movie. The main positive that the test screeners are saying is that the actress who plays Supergirl kills it. And they're like a panel to like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and other actors who have like you think of who are iconic in their roles like Hugh Jackman. And I love hearing that because I'm not familiar with this actress. She was in the Game of Thrones prequel shows I haven't watched, so I haven't seen her in anything personally. So it's an unknown casting for me, and I'm glad to hear from every test screening that she is like the biggest positive when it comes to her being fantastic in a role. So I am glad to hear that as someone who's not familiar with her previous work. And I'm also happy to hear that the test screeners are saying it's a good, solid movie. That you know the main negatives are that it it's not it doesn't look colorful like it does in the comics with how how that storyline in comics like people have said that specific comic the colors in that comic are really like colorful and more kind of like a brighter look to it, and the fact that the movie has a weak villain list. I can get past a weak villain if everything else is really solid to great. So overall, it sounds like test screenings for this movie. They're saying it's really good, solid. She's great as Supergirl, with the main negative being the movie has a weak villain. Which to me, this sounds good. To me, if you ever can come out and you just give me a good, solid movie, to me, it's another win for this DC universe. So we'll see with the Supergirl movie. Like I'm excited for it personally, and I think these are, doesn't sound like it's perfect. At the end of the day, though, all I care about is just give me at least a good, solid movie, and that's what it sounds like these test screens are saying is that it's a good, solid movie, and she's fantastic as Supergirl. So I'm just glad to hear that. It sounds like the test screens for this movie sounds like it's been mostly positive. Just it's not. It's just not like people say this is like amazing or this is like fantastic or one of those comic book movies that's gonna be like one of the greatest comic movies ever. And that's fine with me. Just give me a good movie, and to me, that's what it sounds like when I get with Supergirl. So hopefully, I end up feeling that way. Why I end up loving it when I see it. So that's all my thoughts on all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.